Please let's welcome lawyer Charles Emanuel, CEO of legal practitioner. Let's also invite Deborah Familia. She's the CEO of Baki Clothing. She's an actress, she's a model, and the manager of Familia Beach. Lastly, let's invite Mr. Ebenezer Lai. He's the Chief Operations Officer of Reticular Company Limited. They represent mobile in Ghana and Petro Canada in West Africa. He's a CEO of Joe Capital Limited and CEO of Juice Energy. Please forgive me if I didn't get the details all correct. Please pardon me.
Okay, so I happen to be Chief Operations for Intellect Ghana Limited, CEO of Geo Capital, CEO of Zeus Energy.
Ladies and gentlemen, our time is fast spent, and then we want to move to our guest speaker for tonight, and then we'll start with the program. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to read a little about our guest speaker for tonight. Our guest speaker today is Dr. Emanuel Graham. He's a medical doctor based in Morocco. He's a health coach and a car detailer born and bred in Takrady. Dr. Graham is married to a lovely woman named Dr. Mrs. Molisa Graham, and God has blessed them with an amazing son. He is the CEO of Leasman Auto Care, a startup involved in interior and exterior detailing of vehicles. Ladies and gentlemen, please let us all be upstanding as we invite our guest speaker for tonight, Dr. Emanuel Graham.
So good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Is it okay? I'd have to take my mask off.
Okay.
Should I? So once again, good evening. My name is Emanuel Graham. As rightly introduced, I am a medical doctor, a health coach, and the CEO of Leasman Auto Care. It is a privilege being with you this evening to share with you. And prior to delving into what we're looking at this evening, I would like to say a big thank you to the CEO of Atuahene Foundation, Mr. Francis Atuahene Kandi. Thank you so much, sir, for having me. I would like to thank the panelists for being here, as well as each and every one of you for making time out of your busy schedule to join us. I think over the past 3 episodes, if I'm right, we've been delving into the subject of purpose. And rightly so, our CEO dealt a great deal of content with respect to the power of purpose. And part of what he did mention was the fact that each and every individual here has a significant role to play to make sure that the universe is not short-circuited. That is to say that we do have individual purpose that we are supposed to fulfill on earth. During our second episode, we had a presentation from Mrs. Anita on the power of words. And that was a very important topic for discussion, because it's one thing to actually know your purpose, and it's another thing to talk yourself out of purpose. So on that note, the power of words become very, very important in our lives. Today, I'm privileged to have a discussion with you on the topic mindset shift. Mindset shift. So mindset generally is an established set of attitudes held by someone. Okay? So literally it gives you a lens or a frame that orients an individual to a particular expectation. Okay? Mindset, as we all know, are not inconsequential. That is to say that if you do have a mindset, a particular mindset regarding a thing or two, do not think that it is inconsequential. As a man thinks in his heart, as the Bible says, so is he. In other words, you are what you think. No man rises beyond the level of his thinking. No man rises beyond the level of his thoughts. Within a head, there is a brain. So as we all gathered here, we have a head, we have heads, right? So within every head, there is a brain. Within a brain, there is a mind. And within every mind, there is a belief system. Okay? And behind every belief system is a molder or a shaper. This concept is very important because part of what we do realize is that we all do have belief systems shaped by an individual. And these belief systems become the very fundamentals of our mindsets. We often do get in a hurry with strategies and all that we ought to do to make sure that we achieve all that we are set out to do. However, if strategies are to be the branches or the fruits of the tree, kindly regard mindset as the roots of that tree. That is to say that if you do have a flawed mindset with regards to any pursuit you have, chances are whatever thing that you build in is not going to stand the test of time. One thing I want to draw your attention to is this phenomenon that I came up with. I just do think that there is a mechanism in the universe that seeks to create harmony between an individual's thoughts and his reality. I'll take it again. There seems to be a mechanism in life that seeks to establish harmony between one's thoughts and reality. I think we all have heard, I don't know if I should call it a joke or a saying or whatever, but we've all heard the issue concerning Ghana, Germany, and we do say, if we move Ghana or Ghanaians to Germany and we move the Germans to Ghana, in no time, Ghana becomes Germany, Germany becomes Ghana. We've all heard that, right? Yes. And that has to do with the mindset of the people that we are dealing with. What is at play here is that phenomenon that seeks to create harmony between your thoughts and your reality. It is as a result of this that no man rises beyond his level of thinking. We all know the President Trump, right? If Trump is to lose all his assets, trust and guarantee, he's almost certain to bounce back. Is that true? And that is because of the level of mindset, the level of thought, the quality of thinking he's been able to generate, right? It is also said that individuals who are lottery winners, these individuals tend to actually lose whatever thing that they had pretty fast. Yes. And that is because, if you did stake a lotto and came up with 20,000, 200,000 Ghana cedi, and you do not have an adequate mindset to manage funds on that level, then it's only natural that this phenomenon comes to play to establish the harmony where you come back to zero, as though you want nothing. So mindset is very, very, very important in our lives as individuals if we want to do anything worthwhile and if we want to leave a lasting legacy. The brain has a search function just like a computer's. The difference here is that the brain's search function seems to be more powerful than that of the computer. All right, and there is something we call the reticular activation system. This is not a medical class, so I'm not pretty much going to explain what it is. However, what we do realize is that you could, walk to the Atuahene Foundation and get yourself, say, a Toyota Camry, right? 2018, whatever model, say a red car. You realize that whilst driving home, you are likely to see about 4 or 5 Toyota Camrys that are red. Yes. And you suddenly begin to ask yourself, hey, Adam, mental car will be out of Debbie. It was there. Your mind's focus, your mind's search button was not, as it is, set to recognize these things. And so once you are exposed to it, what we call the reticular activation system just becomes that button in your brain that just causes you to pay attention to the red car that is on the street. In the same vein, if then we do begin to set our mind and our attention on things that are valuable, okay, on thought patterns that are credible, then chances are wherever we go, this reticular activation system is going to predispose or is going to expose us to finding same thoughts and patterns in the society. So if you are programmed to find opportunities everywhere, you realize that you move everywhere and then all you do find are opportunities. I think the CEO was talking about a female, a woman he knows, and I think they were talking about, is it the lighthouse issue in Ghana? And all the woman could tell him was, oh, this is a big business opportunity. And he's like, what are you talking about? You get it? So if then we are programmed, or we program ourselves to find A, chances are when we go out there in the world, we find A just all over us or all around us. We are not finding it because we've not set it in our heart to find it or to look for it. Please, am I clear?
Yes.
Okay. Have you realized that it's possible to have all the information and strategy that you need to accomplish a goal, and yet you do not achieve that goal? It's possible. Is that true? It is very possible to have it all, and yet you do not achieve that goal. And that takes me back to the statement I made that mindset is important, or is more important than strategy. It is literally the root that holds your tree. It is the foundation that holds your building. It is the oxygen that's giving life to your being. And so even scripture does talk about it. That, I mean, there are two buildings in question, and a storm arose, one survived, one did not survive. And the primary difference here had to do with the foundation. What is the foundation? What mindset are you doing life with? Normally, there are three stages I would want to talk about. There is that it is possible, but for someone else mindset. For some of us, yes, we do acknowledge that this is possible. We do acknowledge that this opportunity is viable, but it's not for me, it's for someone else. I can do it. It's almost as though every good thing can be done, but not by you. And you could attribute it to a variety of reasons, lack of self-confidence, lack of information, whatever thing that you want to talk about. However, no excuse is valid enough to deny you of reaching the potential that you do have in this life. I want to talk about a second that deals with, it's possible for me, but how? So we move from the first stage, where you are now, you say it's possible, but then how, right? Now, I'm just hoping this how is one active process that is going to drive you to find solutions. However, more often than not, when we do ask the question of how, we are quite passive about it. So you are likely to find a young man who is like, oh, I want to do this, I think I can do this, but I don't know how to start, I don't know what to do. And it's not like they are actively searching for any answer or information, they're just sitting there hoping that some way, somehow, an angel appears to them and gives them the information they need. The third is, it's inevitable for me. Now, let's find the steps. Okay, so this is a more active process where the said individual is more, is no more passive about his or her own life. He's more active in finding the right solutions, the right information, the right strategy, the right paradigm, the right value system concerning that which he or she would want to pursue. At the end of the day, if you do not believe that you can, strategy doesn't matter. This is why mindset is important. There are areas that tend to influence or impact the way we think. You see, up until now, we've realized that it is very important how we think. It is important that we have quality thought. It's important that we have the right mindset. Even the Bible says that. Says that think about these things. That is to say that if you are not thinking about these things, then whatever thing that you are thinking about, it's not necessarily worth it. Okay? So when you look at your environment, it actually shapes you, it impacts your mindset. The events in your life, the knowledge you have and the knowledge you do not have, your past results and your future visions. These are some of the areas that end up impacting our mindsets. One important thing I would like to draw your attention to is the very fact that we do not even get to choose our family. Who here chose the family he or she was born into? Do we have any individual here like that? So we do not get to choose our family. However, our families do play vital roles in who we end up becoming. Call it conditioning. That is to say that mindset is an important ingredient in the life of an individual. And every individual is supposed to take control over how he or she thinks, over the information he or she exposes him or herself to. Because if you subject yourself to, what is around you, chances are you are going to blend. Now, if you do blend in the wrong culture, then you are just taking a downward spiral from there. Please, am I making sense?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Right. So yes, we do not get to choose our families, but they do get to shape us. And that is pretty much conditioning. Who we are at this point in time is or has been influenced by the kind of father we had, the kind of mother we had, the siblings we did have and the siblings we did not have, the friends we got exposed and not exposed to. So you see, at the end of the day, we're supposed to take control of the way we think of our mindset. However, there are forces at play that can throw you away or towards where you're supposed to go if you do not become an active player in developing the right mindset. So I would like to touch a bit on conditioning. It is a process by which an individual is trained to behave in a certain way or to accept certain circumstances. That is conditioning. And I dare say that all of us here present in this room have been conditioned. You have a mentor, he actually conditioned you. And do you want to know the power of conditioning? I am a father to an awesome 9-month-old baby. Is that correct, I suppose? I don't know. Yeah, but then I have a little boy. And we do have this apparatus that we use whenever we want to administer drugs to him. So we just put it in, we draw 5 mils, we draw 2.5 mils, and then we give it to him. Once he sees it, he knows who we're going to do. Then he starts moving at it. Right? So one day, after giving him a dose of whatever it was, I took one of his favorite drinks, and then I just drew 5 mils of that drink. He saw it, and then he started pulling away. I gave him a shot. And this drink that happens to be his favorite, suddenly he's like, because I didn't ever. So and he didn't take it. That's how powerful conditioning is.
Yes.
Very, very important. So at the end of the day, we have to realize who we are exposing ourselves to. And yes, sir, we'll be conditioned in ways and manner that we do not desire. I did see a picture where, what's a baby elephant? A baby elephant, right? So a baby elephant was tied to a peg. We all know a peg, that's like a stick, right? And it was tied to this peg. It just felt like I've been tied. I can't do anything about it. However, why wouldn't we say, oh yeah, baby, do crap, you are peg in the future. But it grew into an adult elephant, still tied to this same peg, and still felt I can't do anything about it. And this is how conditioning is. Whether you accept it or not, the things you've been exposed to, the ways and the patterns of life you've been led to believe is ideal, these are the very phenomena governing your life. And until you become reflective and active, very pensive about these things, you are not going to make the changes you are to make. When way or one model through which we do get a third alternative is exposure. And by talking about exposure, I want to talk about the leader of, I think, Dubai, Mohammed Al Maktoum. Yeah, right? So there was an interview conducted where he was asked, how did you generate the vision to drive this nation forward? Today, if you ask any young lady, any young man, one of the favorite destinations or secret destinations they would want to find themselves is Dubai. However, Dubai didn't start out this way. Okay? So when he was asked, how did you create this shift? How did you create this change? This is what he said. He said, when I was a kid, my dad used to take me to Europe. And whilst in Europe, I then begin to see things that are not in my country. So I ask myself, how am I seeing it here and not there? As a kid, he couldn't make any tremendous shift, any tremendous change. However, what was done was a seed was planted that challenged his normal, that challenged what he's used to see it. So suddenly he goes back and sees all the structures that are still in Dubai, but he does now know that there are better structures somewhere. There is a better phenomenon somewhere. And now he has the opportunity to become the leader, and the seed that was planted, the exposure that he gained whilst he was a kid, according to him, or my word, is what helped him drive this great country to where it is at the moment. I think there comes a time everybody needs to be a thinker, not only for nations, but for your own self. You see, so he sits down and he realizes that, okay, we are shifting from trade, we're moving into the oil. Oil is not something that's going to be like forever. So we now have to create systems and structures that are still going to be adequate in boosting the economy and creating a thriving situation for generations to come. And so now a thinker sits down by virtue of the exposure he's had and begins to create the change you see now. So if you're here and you do admire Dubai, you can actually make your life as such if you want to make the active decisions concerning or regarding your own lives. I want to touch on asking questions, because that's what exposure creates. If you are exposed to something that is different from what you know, the natural tendency is for you to ask questions. So in Ghana, it's almost like haram, it's almost forbidden to say, hey, how are you? Because I use my left hand to go, hey, Johnny, how you doing? And that's like, you know. And then you suddenly see other people doing this, and it's like, there is no bruising of ego or anything of that sort. Or you see something that is not tolerated in your culture, in another person's culture. And you're like, why is that so? Or something tolerated in your culture, you actually adore it, and it is not acceptable in another man's culture. So the natural tendency with regards to some of these things is to ask questions. And that's what I want to tell you. You can rise to a certain level in life, or a certain point in life, beyond which your next level of progress lies in a question. Okay? You can rise to a certain point or level in life, beyond which your next level of progress lies in a question. Okay, so questions then become the new answers. So, you know, we have education systems that are supposed to model us, that are supposed to shape us, I mean, with respect to the way we're supposed to think, train us into what we are supposed to become. And the values that are held by these education systems are in direct contrast to this. Humans as individuals, we tend to migrate, or we tend to gravitate towards values or value systems. So now if asking questions come with a reward, then we are likely to ask questions. In our classrooms, we are applauded for providing answers, not answering questions. Is that right? Yes. Sometimes if you do ask way too many questions, you become a nuisance in class. So the person who asked how to get to the moon, or who asked how you can call someone in Russia from here, would have probably looked like a fool until it was them. And so if you're afraid to ask, you may never ask your question. Mothers are the most asked. I mean, these mothers are the individuals we tend to ask the most questions. children are the individuals who tend to ask the most questions. However, as we grow, we lose the tendency to ask questions. Why? Because we begin to accept things on face value. And we then lose this inquisitive nature that can actually drive our lives forward. I think we just ran out of time, so basically I'll be wrapping up. But what I want to draw your attention to is there is a time, there is a place, and there is an attitude for success. Okay? And these three ingredients are very vital if you ever want to make anything worthwhile. Gone are the days we had Nokia, BlackBerry, Blockbuster dominating our scenes, okay? And they felt like they were going to be lifelong ventures. Nothing was going to conquer them. Nokia felt like we are building strong enough hardware. Blockbuster felt like they've built enough brand. And where are they now? Seasons change. And so part of what learning will do for you is to help you adapt. Alvin Toffler says, the illiterate of the 21st century wouldn't be the one who is unable to read or write. It's the individual who is unable to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And so, as individuals, look, the ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn is a skill set. It's a must-have because things shift drastically. Conversations we were not having pre-COVID era are dominant post-COVID. And so we are talking about a span of 1 year and everything has changed. It was almost unheard of to say you're working from home. When COVID spiked, I think Twitter announced to its employees, you can decide to work from home for life if you choose to. And I believe most of us, we have colleagues, friends, who have been working from home for the past year and they are still getting allowances for transportation. Okay? So this is how drastic the shift is. And so if you do not possess the ability to unlearn the toxic narrative that you've learned, chances are you'll be left out like Nokia, like a Blockbuster, and like BlackBerry. So that's what I want us to do. We ought to be dynamic. We ought to believe. As Africans, there is almost a conditioning that is almost telling us that we can't build anything of global dominance, of global significance, just because we are Africans. That's not true. Yes. These are toxic narratives that are poisonous to our brain, that are poisonous to our very potential and capacities. And we have to unlearn these. It's not true. That's no, that's not true. These are narratives we have to unlearn. We have to unlearn these things and begin then to relearn the narratives that serve our purpose, the narrative that serve our values, the narrative that serve our trajectory. So, let's take an acronym of FACT. Focus on your wins. Okay? Focus on your wins. Because chances are you are focusing on the things you cannot do, the things you have not been able to do, and all what these things are doing to you is they're sapping you of the energy, the drive to do more. Focus on your wins. The A is ask useful questions. Like I said, questions are the new answers. Ask questions. Ask questions, okay? Ask questions until you find the answer which you desire. Someone just sat there and asked, okay, if we're having programs like this, you always have to scream. How can we solve that? Then this came. So everything that you've seen around you is a product of a question. And your dream, your potential, your capacity, that which you seek to do is just a question away. So, people will be like, solve problems, right? And that's true. How do you solve problems? You ask a question, why are things the way they are? And so if you follow the natural evolution of society and begin to lose the tendency to ask questions, you're going to blend. And you're just going to be a random adult, go to school, get employed, get paid something small, marry, and then that's it. Really, that's it. C is coach. Get one, get a coach. Let's grab a coach. Ronaldo grab a coach. Like, get a coach, get a mentor, get someone to help you. There are two ways of learning, by experience and by mentorship. Experience is learning with wasted time. Mentorship is learning without wasted time. Get a coach. T is take things off your plate. It is said that if you want to travel far, travel light. Okay, so if you want to really travel far, make sure you're not carrying a lot of baggage. A lot of, hey, no, we want more dreaming, we say, meeting here. Hey, now some of you are more yet, hey, me, hey, wait time, you know, like lighten your baggage. Focus on things that really matter. Focus on things that are valuable. And from today, begin to take the very little steps that are likely to take you towards your destiny. Let me conclude by using a quote from Bruce Barton. He says, "Sometimes when I think about the tremendous consequences that come from little things, I am tempted to think there are no little things." My name is Emanuel Graham, a medical doctor, health coach, and CEO of this.
Oh, please, let's do it once more. You want You know, it's not easy to say, every one thing finish, then you give a talk. Okay, it's not easy. It's, you know, he has done so well. He has done, and the topic we are treating, you know, oh yeah, it's some way. So if you don't take your time and then listen to it well, you may not get certain things right. Because everyone has its own mindset. But how to implement it is the problem. So like he said, you need to get a coach. You need to get a mentor. So that in all of it, you will get somebody that will push you small. Because you say, you might not know everything. It's, you know, just, I like the way you guys are taking notes. And then the Maya, the most Alright, so maybe here we'll have other dignitaries that will give them some time to talk. Please be patient. About India, you pray when you're sorry. When you relax. And this note, and I will call my moderator, my other moderator, my co-moderator to lead us through. So let's give him a
can we give a round of applause? I'm not sure anybody paid money to be here, right?
No.
If you paid money, let's refund it. Did anybody pay money? All right, so the best we could do is to applaud the organizers and the speakers, because honestly, they're taking time off their busy schedule to be here. And I'm sure we are learning a lot in it. So far, Dr. Emanuel Graham, with that powerful presentation. My name is Nana Pesikum, and I'm going to be your moderator together with Ama Wedua. And the next person to talk to us, well, he's a lawyer, and he happens to be my mate at Young Christian Preparatory School. He started very well. He had a vision of what he was doing. Last time I remember when Mr. Atuahene called me, I was telling him, he was shocked I could remember this. When we were in JSS, I mean as early as primary school, he started writing the names of his companies in his exercise books. And he's called Prince Charles Edubanya. So you see PC Publishing Company, PC, and he's living the dream.
Yes.
So when Doctor talks about conditioning, he's a living example and testimony. With a round of applause, lawyer Prince Charles Edubanya. And to add up, this seminar is on the topic mindset shift. So please be aware of it.
Okay, thank you very much. But that's quite interesting. Yeah, it's true. Like what Nana said. I used to be, we used to be in the same school, for a basic school, JSS and primary. And interestingly, I'm actually surprised that he remembers, those days where I would kind of, this mathematical set. We have this kind of alphabets. Okay, thank you. So we have alphabets. This alphabets, I don't know how to call it, but a special device for sketching or drawing some, like typed alphabet. And I will take an envelope, I will make it myself, and I'll print on it PC Company Limited. And interestingly, as Doc said, when you condition your mind to, follow a certain path, at the end of the day, you actually live to see I mean, that particular thing coming through, and I actually side with him. Now, to add up to what he said, you know, we have types of mindset. There are some people who have what you call a fixed mindset, others have what you call the growth mindset. People think that, okay, senior you I mean, the way I am, I wouldn't change. In fact, I am asked to go to school, become a lawyer or become a doctor, and that is it. I'm asked to go to school, get a degree, and then get employed in a certain company, so that if I go to school to read, let's say, mechanical engineering or chemical engineering, I'm looking for an engineering firm, a certain, I'm looking for a job in an engineering firm to actually, do, so that if I don't get it, maybe say. But the interesting thing is, if we consider the growth mindset, that one is about saying, well, we would want to solve a problem. In fact, everything about us can change. And in an attempt to solve problems, you end up creating jobs and opportunities for yourself. You see every problem as a business opportunity. Yes. And that is how the growth mindset is. So that you are not actually glued to, a certain way of doing things. So that, say, when to be if after graduating from school, when you may be a firm or person, it means that you have failed. Now, with a growth mindset, people, they actually explore. Let's try and do something. What if we fail? Well, they take mistakes or failures as a learning, an experience, a way to learn and also get to experience some other things. You understand? So that it's not like, oh, my mistake, and I am here. There is nothing I can do about it. Once you make a mistake in one direction, at the end of the day, you would want to try once again. And as you try, you get to know that, well, when I try to do it this way, it won't work because I've done it before. And you want to do it the other way, and it will work. Now, I want to share a bit of an experience. The very first, I'm into printing. So my business is Tesla One, creations and publications. It didn't become PC because I don't want to. So Tesla One, the name Tesla, was given to me in school, like one Nikola Tesla, and it happens to be a car. Electric car. Yes, exactly. And so I decided to use the Tesla instead of PC. Now, the very first time I did car branding, interesting. But an opportunity was given to me. So one lady, like a company in Accra, I do brand T-shirts and other forms of caps and other souvenirs for them. Called me and was like, "Oh, so Prince, one car branding." That was it, and it was because she had seen me put inscribe, in metallic 3D behind my car, like Prof. Tesla. And so based on that, she concluded that me a car branding. So she called and was like, "Oh, branding of buses, my God." Now the question was whether I'll be able to do it or not. Because that was my first time. I was like, wow, I need to learn to do this. And so I sat down, thought about it, approached an already branded car, felt it, how the surface looks like, and I got an idea of probably a certain material to be used. And I went in search for a possible material for branding on metallic surfaces. And then, upon doing so, I got to realize that, well, you cut with a specialized machine, like it's a PC machine, a computerized cutter. And so I tried to cut a few letters, and it worked. I pasted on metallic surface, and that was it. And I realized that, well, I can do it. In fact, it took me like, let's say 3 to 4 days. I wasn't able to give them, I've not given them response as to when I was coming to do it, but I've given them, the affirmation that, oh, I'll come and do it. And that same week, I learned how to do it. I went there. They were like, okay, after some, computer, 3D mock-ups to show them how the whole thing will look like afterwards. They were like, okay, now, so I went there with my tools and equipment. I started. I fixed the first one. Once the first one was fixed, they were like, oh, I think any kind of come. So I want to say that, when you have the changing mindset, the growth mindset, that I want to explore, I want to do this. Well, I've not done it before. Now, a study was done where 2 group of people, like students in class, were giving some difficult, like I won't say difficult, but very challenging mathematical problem. Now, for a group of students, they were like, well, it's difficult, hint me here. And they didn't actually try to think, through the question. But some other people tried to use some knowledge, basic knowledge they had in mathematics. At some point in time, it didn't work. But they ended up getting the solutions to, those questions. And in the end, what they could say was that it was a very great learning experience. But the other group were more or less like, oh, there was nothing we could do. And so I would personally want to advocate that instead of being a fixed mind, having a fixed mindset, we should rather have a growth mindset. And as Doc said, we can being able to learn, unlearn, and relearn is very key. So that probably, growing up, it also depends on your environment as you grow up, what you are taught, and how you are brought up. Now, in some families, success is when you have actually grown to become a professional of some sort. So that if you are the type that tries to, explore and make some mistakes and, move on with it, you are more or less seen as a failure. You understand? But interestingly, being successful, okay, also depends on how you think or your definition for success. Because, for instance, if you want to compare your success or where you've gotten to where another person has gotten to, you may get the definition of success wrong. But then if you are able to look at yourself, say you've been able to solve a problem, okay, to actually bring, solution to community, it's a success in itself. So that it will not be a one-way thing. That, oh, so maybe a lawyer, wow, now we call quarter. It means I'm a successful person. Some people are actually, for instance, not supposed to be lawyers. They are actually not supposed to be, the kind of, professions they go to school to read. There are certain key things like talent within them that are supposed, or they are supposed to explore, as in to bring out. But the family setting, the community setting would actually direct them in a certain line to become as if, well, so one first and it means that you are not successful. You wouldn't become recognized in society. But interestingly, you would realize that quite a number of people who have been so successful in this world are people that try to solve societal problems. And in your quest, or in our quest to solve societal problems, we end up creating businesses. We end up creating other opportunities for people. So that if you could look at, let's say, waste management. One time I think I spoke with a friend who was of the view that, not of the view, but they had gone for a meeting with some scientists from the European Union. And they are looking at ways to actually control waste in Africa, as make good use of waste in Africa. But I was surprised to realize that it's they were going to actually produce energy with the waste. But then they were saying the waste Africa generates is not enough to actually, produce the quantity of energy that we would need. Which means that if they should implement this kind of project, it will mean over time we wouldn't even have, like plastic bottles and other stuff, on the streets, because with the two they could produce energy and stuff like that. And this is a way of also, being innovative and creating solutions for problems in our community. I would like to end here and then.
All right, thank you so much, Lawyer Precious. Oh, more. I hope you are having mindset shifting. Are we? From the first speaker, doctor, to legal practitioner. So I'm already aware our minds are changing already. Just to inform you, we're live on Facebook and it's on the page Francis Atuahene Motivations. So we would indulge all of you to kindly share it on your pages. Francis Atuahene Motivations. You could search for this page and share it on your various pages. Let's invite as many people as we could just to be part of what we are doing. And to talk about the mindset shifting, just like Doc also mentioned, when Microsoft acquired Nokia, the CEO said something. He said, we didn't do anything wrong, but we lost. It was about the mindset. It boils down to the fact that they weren't ready to acquire the Android app, the Android system. They thought we are so fixated on our own operating software. The Android had come and they were swept off the market. They were crying when they were at the press conference. They said we didn't do anything wrong, but we lost. That's what the CEO said. We didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we lost. So the next person to speak on this subject and to give us more insight on is a fashion designer, the only female on the panel. It should have been ladies first, but unfortunately, ladies third here. So yeah, we are having a mindset shift here. We are not always going with the status quo. With a round of applause, Mrs. Deborah Fameye, CEO of Atuahene Global. She's the only female. Yaman more fun. Yaman fan.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay. So, as he said already, my name is Deborah Fameye. Okay, so I'm the CEO of Atuahene Global. When about the topic, entrepreneurship, I think. Yeah. And the topic for today being mindset, right? Okay, I think they've even made it very easy for me, because when we are talking about being an entrepreneur, it's a whole broad topic. And then me talking about mindset, I think most of us here growing up, we had a lot of things we wanted to be. At a point in time, maybe we wanted to be a teacher. At a point in time, we wanted to be a doctor. Then maybe we grow to some age now, want to be maybe something else. And then finally, we get to wherever we are now. So it all bounces back to our mindset. Now we finally agree to one thing we want to do, or maybe two things we want to do. And he talking about the mindset, I got something from it, which I always have it in my head. You are what you think. Yes, because if you see somebody behaving in a way, you definitely get to see or know why he's behaving like that. It's just the moment he starts talking or she starts talking or speaking. Yes, and that's how it is. Most of us didn't get to where we are now by just waking up one day and then getting there. We had to make decisions for ourselves. Most of the decisions we made, people didn't support it. Even our own families didn't really agree with it. But yet still, it's because we had to stand firm to what we think for ourselves. And then we think it will help us. That is same thing, mindset. Well, being a fashion designer, you know, most of us think we didn't go to school. I think now, like now it's now a common thing that most of us are getting into.
Yes.
Because initially, like you can say Taylor, and I say, "Will you come
I hear you.
Like the moment you say I want to sew, they are like any young person will go to school and I some person will go. Yes, but now most of us are engaging our words into fashion in schools and all that because we've realized that it's not just about not going to school. Although every job or every skill like you acquire or you decide to work on, you need a form of education. Although it's not always education that gets you into being an entrepreneur, but you need a form of education. Now at least they've made it very easy for us. Even if you go on Google or other internet, you get all the information you want, and you don't really need to be in classrooms and all that to get to where you want to be. But yes, still, most of us didn't get to where we are just by chance. We had to stand by our decisions. At a point in time, my daddy was like, I don't know, and all that. Even when I started sewing, even when I started job, like I was working for myself and all that, he still was like, this is my lawyer. Because, oh yes, my daddy always wanted me to be a lawyer anyway, because he thought I was the outspoken type. I could just say my mind and say things, but deep down I knew that I can't defend somebody who is lying. Oh yes, if they're lying, I'll just tell you, please, you're lying. I can't defend you. So I was like, this man wants me to be a lawyer though, but, and yeah, no. I love fashion right from the outset because, you know, sometimes, just as I was saying, you get to know, like, or see something from someone from the way Okasa so behave that this person will be this. So sometimes it's easy, even when you realize at the early stage, and then help the person get there faster. You know, there are some kids that want to dismantle things and then arrange them. So when you realize that, okay, there's kids, and there are some kids, they don't even know what they want to do. Like there are some people, they don't even, you know, I know some people that they are like, I even finished tertiary and I still didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, yes, there are some people like that. On one for schooling in Nairobi, their parents paid all those things, but they still didn't know what to do, even after university and all that. And most of them too that I realized they've started their own businesses and all that, but they're still having challenges in their business. They are doing something though, but it's like they still don't know. They only maybe because their mates are doing something and all that. It's not automatically that you go to school, you get to some stage and you get whatever you want, even if you might be working and all that. Sometimes you need to be focused. You need to be focused and go like, okay, now this is what I want. Nothing is going to change my mind. You might just trust me. You get people that will tell you that it will work. And I say, I know, girl, you look like this, so why are you even doing that? You get to your friends, go like, I would know you to be like this. Why are you doing this? But at the end of the day, you do things that makes you happy, and it's what you decided for yourself, because you made that decision for yourself, and that decision you made it upon what will make you happy, and you being happy, you're satisfied. So whether you're doing whatever job they feel is not going to work for you, at the end of the day you're happy with it because there's something you want and you love. And sometimes when we are doing, when we make our mind to do something, let's hope and accept people's comments. It's allowed. Like, let's allow it, because trust me, 10 people might say whatever they think, but you might pick one out of the 10 that will also help you. So don't think you've made your mind so nothing that somebody says is you're going to listen to it. Out of the 10 things that people will say, even it might be negative though, but there will be one out of even that negative comment that you might pick to improve upon that mindset you've made already. Okay, so sometimes it's okay, it's allowed to accept people's comments in whatever decision you make, and you stand upon it. Also, let me use my own self as an example. When it comes to my job, you know, people sometimes come to my workplace and they want to know, no, they see the works you do, and then no, they go like, I'm a job for school or how? And then I know what they are trying to do. Yeah. So then I go like, patch up and go to school. I tell people, I tell so many people I didn't go to school. And they're like, so how come you speak English? I say, I watch TV a lot. I watch movies a lot, yes. I just don't want people having this mentality about, you know, about our job. Say, yeah, young for school, no, nah, be so. And all that. So sometimes, most of the time, I train people, I have people that I work with. Whenever I'm talking to them, I'm like, don't just learn the sewing part. There are lots of things you need to learn. Yes. Don't pick everything though, but pick why you want to sew, like from here. The things that, what brought you here. You don't pick everything that I'm doing, but pick what will suit you wherever you go, because you must stay here forever. Let's just, I don't want to talk plenty though, because there are lots of people here and time is already spent. Let's just know that I just want to make this very easy, that whatever mindset we have, whatever we decided to do, let's just accept negative and positive that comes our way, and then be mindful of what we choose out of them. Thank you very much. My name is
But before you go, did you saw what you are wearing?
Yes, I did.
So she saw what she's wearing. With a round of applause. I'm sure by now our mindsets are shifting. We are supposed to even pick the negative comments and turn it around. There's always something to learn from every comment, every feedback that we get. And before we invite the next speaker, a story shared of this shoe manufacturing company which sent 2 of their marketing agents out to a new site they wanted to explore. And when they went, they said, we went to this village and nobody wears shoes, so we don't have a market. Unsatisfied by the CEO, he sent another set of marketers. When they went there, they said, we have a big market, these people don't wear shoes. So these are the mindsets. And what are you also going to imbibe from what we are learning here before we move here finally? And just to invite the next speaker, who is a journalist, I don't know who Emanuel. Okay, boss, you be everywhere too. Your biography already. So we would want Mr. Emanuel, Mr. Ebenezer Lai, who is the Chief Operations Officer, Chief Executive Operations.
Chief Operations.
Dutyless. Yeah. And he's a CEO of a multiple of conglomerates. With a round of applause. Mr. Ebenezer Lai.
Wow. Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, good evening. I must say, Mr. Atuahene, I'm really humbled. This is my first time coming here, and I want all of you to clap for yourselves for making this I won't speak much, but I just want to share a little bit of my story.
Yes,
Maybe,
story.
maybe it might inspire someone. Destiny.
Sure.
You know what? And I'm just feeling that, you know, sometimes when you're going through challenges in life, it is for a reason.
Yes.
And I'm really humbled. Yesterday when I had the call, was it yesterday? Yeah, I had a call yesterday that you were invited to this program and all that. I was really humbled. And I want to let everybody know in this room that if you are going through challenges, it is preparing you for something great.
Yes. Right.
Get to know also that if you are going through challenges, you are successful. I am programmed for success. Did you hear what I said?
Yes.
I'm programmed for success. I don't accept failure in my life. But I've been the person that has gone through a lot of challenges. I'll tell you my story. And if you listen to this story, it might change your life.
Yes.
The man you are seeing standing in front of you is coming from a very good home. But I never relied on my dad's fame. I schooled. In actual fact, all my siblings were connected to various jobs through my dad. I completed school. I got my job myself. I went for job hunting myself. I didn't get my dad involved. I got my first job as a sales executive in an IT company, the one corner shop IT company. And I remember when I walked into that office, what that man told me was that yes, we don't have space, but I like the way you spoke to me. I'm going to give you an opportunity. I went in there. I didn't know much. I learned so quickly, loved what I was doing, and then within a year, I became the sales and marketing manager for the company. Within a year. I moved from IT. So I went into another IT company as a manager. So I started managerial role very early in my life. Then I moved into a finance house. The company was basically a microfinance, but a very big one. And they wanted to, build up their investment arm because they were having challenges. They couldn't rake in a lot of investments and all that. So what happened? I went there, and then the chief operations met me and said, "Hey Ben, we like the way you came to sell the computers to us. I think you can actually do this. I know you don't have a background in banking, but give it a shot." I went to him, I was like, "What's this guy talking about? I'm an IT boy, I've not done any banking. I also telling me I should have a good banking." But I'm someone who loves challenges. I took up the challenge, resigned from my job, got into the finance house. The story again. I went in as an investment officer with a lot of people in the department. Within a year and a half, I became group investment manager for the company. I want you to see a particular trend. So, from that point, the savings and loans came up, and they said they wanted me to come work with them, blah, blah, because they have heard of what I was doing and all that. And then I moved into the company as a manager. I excelled extremely. And then I said, no, I am going to start my own finance house because I have learned a skill. So with a little money I saved and with a couple of friends, we started Jill Capital. Jill Capital means J-I-L, that is Jesus is Lord. That's the meaning of Jill. So we started, and it was going so well. The passion I had was to support women, because I had a mother that was very industrious, but she had challenges. So I have this passion for women, elderly women that are going through challenges. They are pushing to actually get something on the table. So we wanted to support their businesses and all that with microcredit. And then started this business. Something happened all of a sudden, and everything went down.
My God.
I was in my year group. My mates always saw me to be someone who was like ahead of them, because most of my friends were elderly people, so I was learning fast. So everything came down. I sold my car. I had a problem with family. I moved from one of my dad's apartments and said I was going to rent my own apartment. And then and that tragedy actually struck at a time I wasn't prepared. I would never have been in Takade. I have no business in Takade. So that is why when I started the statement, this session, I said destiny. You know? So everything went down. I lost everything. I sold my car. I lost everything. Even what to eat and feed my family was a problem. I couldn't even get in touch with my mates because I didn't even want them to know. I didn't even want my dad to know what was happening to me because my dad believed so much in me and I was hiding it from my dad. I remember I went to my pastor. My pastor was like, go to your dad. That is where the solution is. Amen. Or else you're in trouble. People invested their funds with me. I didn't know how to actually even pay them back. At a point, I nearly committed suicide. I'm telling you my story just to encourage somebody in this room. Now, the next thing that happened was that I was there one evening and I had an opportunity from an institution outside the country that they were going to pay my ticket and everything to come outside, go to the United States of America. My wife said no. I was like, what are you saying? Are you the demon in my life? Because look at what I'm going through. And I have had this opportunity. You're saying no. So I had a friend, long story short, I had a friend in Takade, and I just called this guy. I told him my frustrations. He was like, oh, we'll come to Takade. There are opportunities in Takade. I said, oh, sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. He said, come to Takade, you come. I told my wife, I said, okay, I'm going to Takade. She said, yes. So I was like, there was this big opportunity. You're telling me I should go to Takade. I don't know anybody in Takade. I'm going to live in somebody's house. And what am I going to do in Takade? Okay, so then I remember that fateful day in the afternoon, 3 p.m. I had one single bag.
Yes.
One single bag.
Single bag.
And then, just one single bag with I think about 4 clothes and a pair of jeans. I came to Takade. I go to a gym around 7 p.m. And then one guy confronted me, one of the taxi drivers around the filling station. You know the filling station? Said that, oh, boss, what's over here, Juma, or your phone me wrong. And I said, And then my friend, I had to wait for my friend. He came to pick me. But this friend of mine knew me. He knew how things were good for me. He saw me, he nearly cried. Because he saw that this is not me. Because what I was even wearing was not really me. Okay, so what happened next? Very interesting story, right? You want to know the ending? Okay, so so then I went to the house. I met my friend's parents, and we started talking, and I was in tears because they knew me. I had come to Takari to visit, and when I came, Charlie, I was a boy, you know. Balling. I had my, was it 2017 Hyundai Sonata height, you know. I mean, I was good. And I came back with 4 clothes. Everything was gone. I had debtors chasing me everywhere, checking, catching the police. So then I came and I told my story to my friend's mom. He said, forget about it. We've gone through challenges as a family like that before. So, you know what, pick yourself up. But, you know one funny thing? I had a little bit of feeling that I was going to succeed in Takari on my way.
Or your city.
Yeah, I don't know, but I had a very funny feeling that I was going to turn things around. So then I'll go out with this friend of mine. I mean, his dad is a contractor and all that. And then when we go out, all of a sudden I became a contractor. I started going to sites and all that. The banker, marketing guy, background, started going to sites. And I was pointing things and all that, taking selfies and all that. Wearing helmet. I'm used to the suits and all that, but now I'm supposed to be in jeans and all that. So we just go to site, then I'll be looking at what they are doing. He was also interested in renting trucks and all that. So we started going out, then we talked to people. Then when the gig comes, I will do the talking because he doesn't know how to do it. Okay, so what do we have to say? Then he will tell me, and then I'll find a very good way of pitching, and we'll get a deal.
Yes.
And so then I was getting to know a few people in town, getting to have new friends and all that. And then one day after we had a very good gig, I told my friend I was going to eat. So I went to that food joint at, is it one?
Level.
No. Where they sell the fufu, God is love. So I went to God is love. I went to sit there, and when I was there, very, very interestingly, a friend of mine, a family friend, met me there, not knowing. He said, "Now, what are you doing here?" I was so shy. The guy saw me. I said, "Oh, Charlie, business. I mean, you know, and all that." He said, "Okay." But then later I told him the story and all that, and he was like, "Wow." I said, "Okay, I know this guy. I want to connect you to him. He wants to come in. Mobile is coming back to the country, and they are looking for a very good sales guy, blah, blah, blah." I said, "Okay, let me give it a shot." So I met this guy, and then I spoke to him. He said, "We need someone who really knows the terrain in Takari." I said, "Oh, wow, I've been in Takari for a very long time. I think I know everybody in Takari. When it comes to oil, I know Jack." So then he said, "Okay, I like the way you talk and all that. Can we start something?" I said, "Okay, look, I'm tired of working for people. I want franchise. I don't want to work for you." He said, "Wow." He said, "No, but you know, I like your energy. I want us to work together." Then I went to Accra. They treated me like a president. Because, I mean, the way we spoke and all that, they saw that this guy has value. I immediately did a little bit of study on the path I was going into. So when I went there, I started sharing a couple of information with them, and they were surprised. The guy wasn't really in Ghana. He's someone that lives in the United Kingdom. So he just came to Ghana to actually start the business. And to cut a long story short, I joined Reticular as a sales executive for Takade. And when I joined, my friend who I came to be with in Takade was part, but at a point he was like, Charlie, these guys, they're not even giving us salary. All they give us is what? Transportation. And then he stopped. But I focused and I kept going on. And then business was going well. I started getting some deals coming through. We started doing supplies and all that. And then I gathered some money. I rented my first apartment in Taka. So when I left the family and all that, I think the mom was happy and all that. The family, they were really happy and proud that I've picked up something and I was doing. And the thing is that we were running the organization in my house around one table, and then the guys in Accra and other sectors were not selling, but I was selling. And then all of a sudden, the MD was like, the CEO was like, how come Eben is selling and you guys are not selling? And you're always telling me it's the price, it's this. Because we are selling mobile, the oil lubricants, and mobile is very expensive. But I pitch and I get deals. So, at the end of the day, he was like, okay, Eben, I want to get you a car so that you can actually go around and do your job. I said, okay, but he said, I think you deserve it. I said, okay. So, and when I was leaving, one day I went to Accra, when I was leaving to come back to Takade, I told my wife, you know what, I didn't know that was happening. I said, you know what, the next time I'll be coming home with a 4-wheel. And this has been my life. I speak into my life, it happens. I don't know why. So I'm very positive. Whatever I say, I'm someone who is conditioned to be positive. So then this guy, Atuahene, you know the story. He bought a pickup and all that. I drove home. I was in a pickup. My wife was like, really? So then in a year and a half, Utilex was growing, and we had partnership with another oil lubricants company, that is Petro-Canada. Petro-Canada is a very big brand. I don't know if some of you have heard about the brand in Western, Petro-Canada. So we started Petro-Canada. Petro-Canada said, you know what, we don't want you to represent Petro-Canada in Ghana alone. We want Utilex to represent Petro-Canada in the whole of West Africa. So then, look at the shock. It was exactly a year and a half I started working with this organization. The CEO calls me one evening and said, Eben, I think you can run this. I think your team is really efficient. I like the way you are handling everything. I want you to move to the role of Chief Operations Officer. Second in command to him. Wow. But I came to meet people, and some of them were actually older than me. I came to meet some hard guys. They didn't actually like me because they felt that you are selling and you are making us look like we don't sell. So already I had enemies within. So I was asking myself, how was I going to deal with this and all that? And then, so we have our Monday morning meetings, and then he announced to the whole team that from today, Eben is the Chief Operations Officer of the company. And not only the Chief Operations Officer of the company, he's also the National Sales Manager for the company. So 2 roles in 1. And then when we're giving the license to represent Africa, parts of Central Africa and South Africa, he said, even you are going with me, you are now Chief Operations for West Africa. So, I'm telling you my story so that you will know that if you put your mind to something, you can't be successful. And I have been the person that I had a very good doctor friend who changed a lot when I came, and I don't know, maybe you know him, it's called Bruno. You don't know Bruno, okay. So Bruno, I don't know if you know Bruno, Dr. Bruno back home. You know Bruno? Okay. So Bruno was a very good friend of mine. I remember sometimes Bruno used to tip me, and he tells me that, Evan, I know you bounce back. I know you are going to bounce back. And he was really positive about me. So to cut the long story short, I started on this journey, became chief operations officer and all that, and things we have actually, when I took over as chief operations, what we made at the end of the year was, I think, around 800,000. Today, we are talking over 9 million Ghana cedis. And that was end of last year. Within this first quarter, I did first quarter assessment for my team. And when we put all the figures together, we are hovering around 10.8 million within first quarter already.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and then the CEO comes and tells me, Eben, you have changed this company. We are going together and we are going to succeed together. So, I want you to know that, you see, you are the kind of, if you want to be successful, work with successful people. If you want to be a loser, work with losers. I work with people that challenge me.
Yes. Nice.
That make me feel I'm useless.
Yes.
And then I push myself to become them. Because when I work with people that I am always better than them, I am not challenged. So it's like you are surrounded with people that you are better than, so you feel that you are the best. But as soon as you get yourself involved with people that are better than you, you are challenged to be the best. Yes. Thank you.
We can do it better for Mr. Lion. I think even on this note we can close and go, right? On this note we can close and go. I'm happy on Facebook Live, so you can search for Francis Atuahene Motivations and kindly share it. We don't have to keep this all alone. We have to share it to as many people as we could. And the stories of the one bag, I'm sure the next speaker will also give this version of the one bag into Takrady. So those of us who have been saying there's no opportunities in Takrady, I think tonight is your answer. He came from Accra and we've seen what he has done. So I'm happy we are also on Facebook, because my friends, when you call me and I don't pick up, I'm changing my friends. You people. Just to acknowledge the CEO of Western Music Awards, Ampabin is here. We have the Captain Joseph Kwekwe is also here. Can we? And a female amongst us, Eunice. Can we see? All right. And then we have CEO of Chrisland Productions. He's called Francis Ejirkum, also here. And all protocols are there. They acknowledge everybody. But before we go to the next speaker, we want to share briefly with you the reward mindset, the reward system, our perception of reward. All the time, our perception of reward has been money, money, money. But as the Public Relations Officer of Western Music Awards, as a Mandela Washington Fellow, as a Talo Scholar, I am very much aware what Proverbs 22 verse 1 that says, good name is better than riches. My currency in life is my reputation and my integrity. That's all I bank on. Aside that, I'm not after money. I want money to chase me. Yes. So I am very minded and mindful of Proverbs chapter 22 verse 1 that says, good name is better than riches. So it's about reputation. We have some friends, if you get another friend who tells you, okay, I'm traveling abroad. I want somebody to come and live in my house till I come. Names will pop in your mind. Other names, when they come, he says, hey, that you. There are people, if I have about $10,000 to want to give to somebody, I don't want it to be in the bank, to go through some channels when I'm going to withdraw. I want you to keep it for me. I have names that come to mind. There are names when it comes to mind. Hey, Charlie, who's got a better cut than him? So these are some of the things. And the reward system, we do Western Music Awards, and there was this artist who won an award from the Western Music Awards, and he was getting that, you know, when you are getting the gigs in America or other parts of abroad, you want to compare your resume. How many awards have you won? And it was against a national artist, a very recognized national artist. And this artist from Western Music Awards really got that because he won 2 awards from the Western Music Awards, and the other person didn't get. And he had the opportunity to play about 16 states in America. Wow, that's the reward system. It wasn't about money. And I don't know if anybody knows about the Mandela Washington Fellowship. It's organized by the US Embassy, and it's for the leaders, young leaders. This Young Leaders Initiative by President Barack Obama. He started it when he was a president then. So it's to pick young leaders from African countries. And when they are selected, one thing they said was, your works are visible online. That was the reason why I was picking. And they do, you know, the Americans, they will do background check. And when everybody speaks well about you, everybody will want to give you this opportunity. So we want to just create a scenario to know if you be the person that will go into the mind of people. So reputation, but we are so much about money. Go and ask somebody to do, hey, I say you do, but we don't know that every little thing we're doing. We're speaking to the BEC candidates, some seminars of this sort. We're just talking to some people. We're just inspiring people on social media. We contribute meaningfully to national discourse and other events, not knowing they were being an addition to whatever we're doing, not knowing people are watching. So the reward system is not always about the money. So our perception should really shift. Our mindset should really shift from the monetary reward system to the good name and the reputation. Because Nee shares a story, and he is very vocal about it, that everybody knew that you bounce back. Yes. There are some people when they feel, you know, the hour, and you heard our sister, Bake, CEO of Bake Clothing, and she was also sharing her story of it. She was very vocal, she knew what she was after. It was very clear. Doctor was talking about the focus and all the acronyms we need to learn from credentials. I've known him since primary. We went through JSS, and it's somebody I could bank on him. If this hand sanitizer is given to me to give to anybody in the room, I think he'll be one of the persons to give to because of a reputation. And I am a Christian and a strong one for that matter, and I know that Proverbs 22 verse 1 says, good name is better than riches. And if you have any Bible, just check. The good is spelled in capital G, capital G, capital O, capital D. So that's the emphasis. Good name is better than riches. And like the story of Jesus Christ, even after 2,000 years, at the mention of his name, you know what he's done. That's good name. So our reward system and our reward perception shouldn't always be about money. Get a good name, the money will chase you. There are a lot of automobile companies here, but mention it to and everybody wants to go. How is he able to convey such powerful people here? Good name. I'm not sure any of us will go to just any other place when you are called. And because of good name, because of the reputation, that's my currency. I am able to, all the MPs in Secondary, I can access them. If I text them and they are busy, they will call back. I can call Mr. Atuahene, I can call, anybody, because of reputation, because of good name. So our reward system shouldn't be about that. People who have a lot of money who passes through us, thankfully, and by the grace of God, to the regional minister, to some MPs. And these are people, by the car they drive, by the company they oversee, they should be able to access some people directly. But what reputation, that's the currency. So on that note, I'll call the convener of this seminar, who's been doing this since, and he's somebody who has an inspiring story to share. Some of us have had the privilege, the rare privilege, to hear his story, and he's always about youth empowerment. He's always motivating. That's why I asked if anybody paid money to be here. He's always ready to bleed to make sure all of us get enough money. And if you go to him, listening to Les Brown and all those motivational speakers, you see the passion with which he does it. And the company is pretty much younger, but at the pace it's moving, it can only be God. It can only be determination, and it can only be the reputation he's built. With a round of applause, Mr. Francis Atuahene. And we want to know the Scandi. I don't know if people have seen Scandi. Those of us on his Facebook, you see Scandi. Scandi is over here in the picture.
Good evening. Thank you very much for coming. And on behalf of the team of the Atuahene group of companies, we say a very, big thank you for honoring our invitation to be part, especially to our panel members, a woman, Bakay Clothing. The time they mentioned her name, I was like, wow, I've heard the name, but I don't know her. And now we've gotten the chance to meet Lawyer Edu Brenya. Is a great man. We are the same church, Grace Pentecostal Assemblies of God. And Mr. Lai is a man that the first time I heard the story, it really inspired me. And those are the people we always want to, at least, because we are very strong enough, but sometimes, no matter how strong you are, there are times that you feel so weak and you need some kind of inspiration. And when you hear some of these stories, it gives you the belief, and it gives you the opportunity to know that there is something great ahead of you. Everybody who is here, Jump Up, and I can't mention all the names. Captain, thank you for coming. And talking of mindset shifts, it's one thing that we really have to make very keen notice at. Because whatever that we can achieve in this world, there is something that I always say, that we see money with the mind before we touch it. If someone will be successful in life, before whatever the person wants to achieve, you first of all have to see it in the mind before you touch it. If you want to have the biggest building in town, you have to imagine that, you have to see that in your mind before you can be able to achieve it. But if you don't have it in your mind and you think you can achieve it, it's not possible. You will come in contact with the opportunity and you will not be able to even recognize that there is the opportunity that has come my way. So this evening, with all what our panel members said, I just want us to do something. As we are sitting down here, I just want us to think of something, a major goal that we really want to achieve. Something great that if we were guaranteed success, now as we are sitting here, if we are all guaranteed success, what exactly do we want to achieve in life? Talking of the one bag story from Mr. Lai, when he said one bag, it just touched me and it just gave me some memories of when I was coming down to Takoradi somewhere 2012. For him, mine was better than him. Because for me, I came with 3 bags. One was a school bag, another sports bag, and I still have that bag. Because when I remember the story of David, after becoming a king, still had his old clothing in a particular room. So I have that bag there, the sports bag, which I have so many books in it. Because I like reading a lot. I have my books in it. And talking of one inferior swimmy bag, that was what I had some utensils in as a young guy coming down to Takoradi. I also didn't know anybody in Takoradi. But one thing is, whatever the brain can, conceive and believe, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, you can achieve it. We've come this far, not by our own strength, but it has been God. God has been the first person in it. And aside that, with the mindset that we have, if you see yourself to be a wealthy person, though your current situation may be challenging, but your current situation shouldn't determine who you are going to be. Storms come in the lives of every individual, but no storm lasts forever. No storm lasts forever. And we say storms may be natural, They are natural occurrences. Because if someone is a wealthy person, you cannot be wealthy for the rest of your life. There may be times that challenges may come. But we always have to remember that they are all temporal. They are temporal situations that comes and they will definitely what? Pass. And they are always moving. So we need not to settle for less. And it's all about our mindset. If you decide that where I've gotten to there is no way out. And the moment you start making those negative declarations for yourself, before you realize, it will remain like that. Because even when there is a greater opportunity, as I said, when there is an opening, you will never see it. I heard one story, I will just close with that because we don't have much time. I heard a story of a guy who was sentenced to firing squad. And as this guy was sentenced to firing squad, he was taken to the point that he needs to be killed. And the commander told him that over here with your firing squad, the team are ready to just finish you up. But there is this unknown door that you can pass through. But this unknown door contains some horrors, some things we do not know, how your ending will be. So you choose whether you just stand for you to be, either you are going to be shot or maybe you'll be hanged. We do that to you and you live, you die. Or you go through the unknown door and whatever happens to you over there. If it were to be us, what are we going to choose? It's a deep question. Are we going to choose the unknown door, or we just face either the shooting or the hanging, then we die? So this man just told the commander that, at least, I just want to die. So there is no need trying that unknown door, because I don't know what is behind it. So he accepted, and they killed him. He died. Just after he died, the secretary to the commander asked him, "Boss, so what was behind that unknown door?" He looked at her and he smiled. It's like, behind that unknown door was freedom. What is the unknown door in front of us now? Let's think about it. Thank you very much.
I was very proud. Oh, we can do it better. We know at this point you have a lot of questions to ask, but we want to make it very brief because time is fast spent. So we want to make sure that you are able to ask questions directed to our speakers and our main speaker, who are available to answer any question that you have. But you didn't, please, there's Candy.
Okay. Candy is a name that I started using it somewhere in class 5. Class 5, my big bro, those days, you always be choosing some nicknames for ourselves. So I had so many nicknames, but by then, my big brother, Dennis, came with this name, Stanley. I heard and I was like, hey, this name too sweet too. So I started using it by then. My colleagues, everybody, Sandyman Jr. And at the point when I even left our secondary school cycle, most of the old friends still remember the Sandy. So there are some friends, if you don't add the Sandy to your social media handle, they will search for you and they won't even find you. So at the point, I was like, no, I don't want to get rid of my old friends. I should still maintain them. But in maintaining them, I just have to add the Sandy to my social media handle so that if someone wants to see Francis Atuahene, there may be different Francis Atuahene over there, which most of my old mates didn't even know my name, Francis Atuahene. But once they see Sandy, they say, this is Sandy man. So that is it.
Oh, Scandalicious. So what's your nickname? Okay, so we'll come to that. And most times when you go for seminars of this sort, usually they present it as if it's very easy to change your mindset. I would want to direct this to Doc. Is it that easy that made in with Yokuman? I'm a Mumani, then I come here less than 3 hours, want to change what I've seen for over 29, 30 years, 35 years, telling me that I should change my mindset. How easy is it?
Okay, so thank you so much. Thank you for the question. Obviously, it's not easy. And this has been proven because you realize that what we tend, so what we learn at the early stages of life, whether true or false, it's proven that at a later stage, when we do realize it doesn't serve us, it's still pretty much difficult to change. So the whole concept of mindset shift is not one quick fix, it's not a quick fix thing that you just come here for 2 hours or 3 hours, and by virtue of what you heard this evening, you just haven't changed. What has been done this evening is that seeds have been planted in your minds. You've been challenged, you've been engaged, and while sitting, you've had to look within to ask yourself questions that are pertinent to your trajectory, if I should say. And so part of what we're doing is that you then build on from here. I believe that the panel, as we have, they are available to help you on this journey. And you yourself, if you heard what our panel shared, like I did again say, it's see that you can then build on to effect the change that which you want to see. So this is basically what we're doing, and like our CEO said, it's not like a day's work. This is not something we're doing today and that's it. It's something we have every 2 weeks. So in a given month, we're meeting here twice monthly, and it's an invitation for you to just keep coming. Just keep coming. It's just like, for the Christian folks, if you want to give your life to Christ, you want to keep following Jesus and all that, it doesn't just happen there. You go, Lord, I give you my life, but you keep going. And in going, you get more revelational knowledge about this man that you want to follow. And this then becomes the basis, the foundation on which you begin then to make changes on a very small scale. Like I did end my presentation with, when I consider the tremendous consequences that come from very small actions, I'm tempted to believe there are no small actions. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much. Any question? Whilst you're waiting for question, when you were talking about giving your life to Christ, Charlie, okay, who want to give his life to Christ? Not mentioned but 16 times. I could even say, you can't copy. I get what most bad, they go copy. So maybe that's what we are doing. Come. That's a seed. So one of them, I'm sure, and I'm not in terms of my brother. Yeah, before I argue. And please, any other question? You've heard from Yate and speakers what they've shared, and I'm sure there have been more and some of it visa. And it's open. There will be for sure, young visa. I'm going to have more questions for you. More questions for you. It looks like the lawyer is into publishing and printing and all that, and a legal practitioner as well. Multitasking. How easy is it?
Okay, so it all boils down to planning and managing your time. For instance, there is, in the practice, we have drafting, where you do much more legal research, and then you draft. And that is much more, easy going, in the sense that you can actually be doing that probably in the night, depending on how you want it. And maybe during the day, you focus on I focus on the print and the other forms of creations, more or less. So that's how, it depends on how you plan. And in all, when you do proper planning, you'll be able to combine all of them and you will succeed.
Proper planning. Any other question, please? Proper planning is the underlining factor. Proper planning. But we didn't hear you talk about reading. Mr. Lai, what do you read?
Oh,
My book is sitting with you.
yes. So, well, what do I read? I read almost everything. But most of the time, I read things that, or I go into areas that I want to develop my knowledge in. So I moved into banking. I started reading everything about investments. I hear terms I do not understand. I research. I took a couple of courses and all that. I built capacity in the area and I became an authority in the area. When I moved into oil, I didn't know anything about oil lubricants. I didn't know anything about oil, but I studied. The thing is, if you develop passion and love for what you're doing, you have to move. I mean, you seeing whatever you're doing as a chore. Do you get what I'm trying to say? If you see it as a chore, it becomes something like it's not something you're really passionate about. But if you see it as something that you love doing, you become perfect in that particular area. And when I came to Atuahene, I realized that so when I started working with Reticular, I needed to employ people, and the team I have now are all from Atuahene, and they came in, and so that's why I was talking about destiny, because at the end of the day, if that didn't happen for my business to go down, I will not be in Atuahene, and the other thing is that I will not even be standing here. The next thing is that everybody that has a job through me today in where I am working will not be having jobs. So sometimes, I mean, not moving away, I read a lot of things. I build capacity in the area I need to, how do you call it, develop myself. And then that is how but I do not let anything go. If I lay my hands on something, I'm reading. Sometimes it's even books that, are not in my area, in my field, but I want to build knowledge. I am going to engage, for example, with Anglo Gold. I need to understand their operations. I need to understand how they run so that I can effectively pitch and then make sense to them. So you always need to prepare yourself before an opportunity comes in. If an opportunity comes in and you are not prepared, you will lose that opportunity. That is one thing. Because if you are always running around saying, I need a job, I need something to happen, you'll be there one day an opportunity comes and then you are not prepared for it. And you lose it. So, yes, opportunity, yes. Yeah, expiring dates. So you always need to, no matter what the challenge is, today you don't have a job. Today you're trying to, things are not working out. Know that there's an opportunity that is going to come. But make sure you are prepared for that particular opportunity. Because when it comes, and work hard for it. Do not sit home and say that, okay, yes, things are not going well, so I am going to be home. If things were not going well for me, when things were so bad, and I didn't come to Atuahene, possibly I would still be. But I took that bold initiative. I left my comfort zone. Yes. I came to an area, I didn't know anybody. I went through challenges. I had an opportunity. If I didn't come to Atuahene, I didn't take that bold step, I won't have that opportunity. You get what I'm trying to say? So please, it's very important that no matter what, all of us sitting here, nobody sitting here can say that we are not going through challenges. We have our own personal challenges. We have our own personal issues that we are dealing with. But day in, day out, we are trying to make things better. We are trying to better ourselves. I think, Doctor, you have your own challenges that you deal with. Atuahene, you have your own challenges. I think my sister here and my brother here, We have our own challenges. We are normal human beings like you, but maybe we saw things differently. And we took the opportunity that came along with it. And today, look at it. Tomorrow, you might be the person standing here inspiring somebody. I told my wife, I think 2 weeks ago, that who is the richest man in this world? I said, Google it. And I was driving, so I was just making fun of these things. And she mentioned, I said, what's his net worth? And she mentioned a figure. I said, multiply it by 5, what do you get? I said, that'll be my net worth very soon. She was like, what are you saying? I said, look, I speak positive things in my life. Who is that rich person? Who is he? That is how you should think. Yes. But you see, you don't just sit down and say that, I'm going to be the richest person. Make sure you are working towards it. Because for me, I have a plan. I want to be somewhere in the next few years, but I also do not classify success with age. Because your success story might be 60. Yes. Your success story might be 15 years. Your success story might be 20 years. I do not believe in the saying, life begins at 40. Please. I do not believe in it. And don't be pressured that at the age of 40, you are not successful. So you find yourself in oh, my friends, I'm 40, I have not built my house. Please. KFC at 90. KFC had this breakthrough, I think 90, right? 60. Okay, so 60. Yeah, 60, yeah. After retirement. After retirement, yes. After retirement. KFC. That was when he had his breakthrough. And you sit down and say that I'm 40, I've not achieved anything. Please. Who told you that? Do not measure yourself with what people and don't think about what people think of you. Yes. Make sure you believe in something, go for it. Yes. Do not think about, oh, okay, me a day a beer. I mean, people will say this. They are saying things about me. And please look, what you feel. What you know within you that you can achieve, go for it. Today it might look like, things are bad. But believe in yourself that you will be successful. Program yourself that I am successful. Walk like a successful man. Believe everything you do. Let it be that. And then you realize that nature will align itself, and then you will fall in place. You get the people that will actually, guide you to that place. Because you see, you are what you think. Yeah, you are what you think. That's this. You are what you think. Let me tell you, if you think something is going to happen to you within 2 days, expect it. Think negative and you attract negativity. Think positive, you attract positive things. Thank you.
One big question. Say well. Creativity. In the fashion industry, Deborah Moshe. Mundo Biashi. We need to down in creativity. Are you born with it, or you can learn to be creative?
Okay. I think you can learn. Some people are born being creative naturally, and you can still learn. If you want to be creative, sometimes you need to consider everything around you, and then look at the beauty part of it, and then look at the beauty part of it, the things around us, being people, being like things that nature has given us, and look at the beauty part of it and see what you can make out of it. Because most of the things that we end up developing, creating, we see, there are things that we see around us, being colors, being people, being like the natural things that God has already given us. So being creative, naturally, people are born creative. Like they just see things and they can make things out of it, like Papa. And sometimes you need to go through training to get it. And going through the training too, you need to know that, okay, now this is the part I want. When it comes to training, there are lots out there to develop on when it comes to skills. But you need to know that, okay, I just don't want to be creative. So this is what I want to do when it comes to me being creative. Then you go on that side and then develop on it. Some people are lucky, they get to find out that, okay, this is what I want to do, like right from their childhood state. And some people feel like, I want to do this, but I don't know how I want to do it. Now they need to have the education, right? They need to have the knowledge about it. So then you have to go through a process, go through a channel to get there. Normally, when you realize that, okay, I want to do this, and then you get the education, maybe you don't know, you don't have the basic, you don't have the natural skill. Then you realize that this is what I want to do, and you get the education. It becomes much easier for you to learn and take it faster because you already know what you want to do. Some people are put in places that they are forced to do it, but that's not what they want to do. Although they still feel like they want to do something that is skillful, that is like they want to learn a skill, but almost shut down me. So you end up hearing people going like, "Monsieur hairdressing down," but then you hear somebody say, "So Monsieur fitting down," but they end up going through a lot of channels before they finally get to where they want. But naturally, if you're born having this creative skill, you're lucky. You can develop on it too. And then if you realize that this is what I want to do too, you can get the training and the education on it. So it's both sides anyway.
All right, you want to add up? All right.
So just a few things to what my dear sister here said. You know, one thing the man of God shared with me had to do with the fact that the God who created us, He is a creator.
Yes.
The Bible says that He created us in His own image, like Himself. So it also means that we are also born creators.
Yes.
So much so that if you actually purpose or advert your mind to the fact that I would want to create, that is where it starts from. Sometimes there is this inherent or something within you that you would hold something, and that's when the creation then begins. Myself, for instance, there are instances I would just have to get a mouse and a laptop, and that is when the creation starts with, say, a design software or something. And as I hold it to work, ideas, get into my head. And with that, I try to, I bring it to bear in physical production of the thing. So I also believe that we have it. Sometimes, just as I said, it's the mindset. Some of us may be thinking, well, maybe I'm doing here, I can't do it, and will not even try. But what I always also share with people is, just give it a try. And as you try, or as you give it a try, you realize that, oh, Thank you.
That's powerful enough. Lawyer Prince Charles Edubrenya. And like I said, we attended the same GSS. You know, in America, Clark Atlanta University, my university, we have this awards session at the end of every graduation. And they have that most likely to succeed. They give award, and one of the categories is most likely to succeed. So they know about the student who is most likely to succeed amongst us. That kind of thing. So they know that this person is most likely to succeed, and he's one of those people. So if Mr. Lai is talking about picture what you want to see, if he didn't do this, I would have been shocked. When I spoke to Atuahene, and when he was there, when I mentioned it to him, he was shocked that I could recall as far back as JSS, as far back as primary school. So he saw it. So he's talking about seeing it, see what you want to see in 2 weeks. And he will just write PC print Greasy publishing, and he's doing it now. Was likely to succeed if you were at that time, if you were hand or better. And then we chew on a Jabez and chew when you're presenting the dodgy free tech class, no, the compass, which are the nice biceps, which are on a day. Financially, any question? I'm not sure we have any. Dude, never use that question. Leg on a class, girl, we up and I said, and let you say, are you with us? Yes, I'm with us. Right. Yeah, with us, come and ask your question.
Thank you very much to our panel members for this. But your main question goes to Mr. Lai. Yes, Mr. Lai and Mr. Atuahene. At least I want to know if you baby Abba. So I would want to ask them, coming into a new place, virtually knowing nobody, if we can point out some of the few challenges, the ones that if, let's say, I'm to move to a new place, I'm likely to face. Only him, or in a minimum, and I can eat. Minyaha moko, never quite then. There's nothing going on there, so I spoke to one auntie of mine, moko was now friend, a young guy, a crowd. Kumasu Pode, one shall I Accra nice, come to Accra. So I still like that place. I don't know why, but from the first day I may call Hono. That is the place out. So if you would kindly share with me.
We are more joining in a check be here before. I'm sure when you ready. Who bosses now? Make it up and make your mic.
All right. Okay, so some of the challenges what you face
when you go
when you move to another place. Okay, wow. No, okay, so the challenges that you will face. Is that the question?
Yes.
Okay, so honestly, there are several challenges. It depends on you turning the challenges into opportunities. I always say this: every challenge is an opportunity. You see, you get to, somewhere new, you do not know anybody, and you need to at least understand the nature of the people there. They are thinking, how they process things, how they. When I came to Takari for the first time, you are coming from Accra, everything is like, we do things and I came to Takari, I woke up very early in the morning because I'm that kind of person, and I moved out to go and do something. And it was like, all the shops were closed. I said, what was happening this time? How come at this time, people are. Then I remember, so I then went to the bank sometime within the time I came in to do some transaction. I got there, I remember very well, and I'll mention the name of the bank, StanChart. I got to StanChart, and then we had almost a lot of people seated like this. The teller was actually chatting with a girlfriend or whatever, I don't know. The whole thing was so slow. You realize the people were, but they couldn't actually voice out. That is one of the biggest problems of Ghanaians. We can't speak truth to power. You see, if I'm your friend and you are not doing something right, if I can't tell you, I'm not a good friend. You get what I'm trying to say? So then I was in the queue, and then I asked. I think the thing just came out. I don't know. It just came out. I said, my friend, what are you doing there? Do you think we have the whole day here? Where is your manager? And then everybody turned and said, So then the manager comes out and said, excuse me, what is the problem? I said, how many tellers do you have here? No, they don't know I'm having a banking background. I said, how many tellers? You have almost about 6 booths here, and you have only 2 people, and you have, look at the number of people seated here. We didn't come here to come and waste our time. There are things we need to go and do. You are supposed to serve us. So don't treat us like, we have seen kings in the booth, so please sit down, wait for your turn and all that. And then, all of a sudden, not knowing, 2 tellers were sitting at the relationship officer's desk. Then they rushed to come to the, the tellering booth. And then all of a sudden, things started happening. What I realized was that, you see, the challenges, there are a lot of challenges you actually face when it comes to this. But I can't tell you, they are unique. You can't say that what I will face will not be the same thing you will actually face. But you see, do not look at the challenges. Make sure that there is something you want to achieve. You want to be successful at the end of the day. Try to understand that. But I was a little bit prepared when the opportunity came, because naturally I'm a good marketer. I'm good when it comes to sales. Give me something, I'll sell it. I realized that I can sell anything. If I move to oil, and from oil, and I get into an institution that they sell rice, I'll succeed. I'm naturally like that. You understand? So understand the kind of person you are. I don't think, you would want to go into areas. You see, you said you have a feeling that you want to go, that's somewhere you really want to go. There's a certain connection there. I'm telling you, there's a certain connection there. But maybe you don't rush it. Take your time. Understand, don't just rush and go there and say, because Mr. Lai went to the Takati and he made it. We're also going to carry one bag and go to, how do you call it? Right, be surprised. You understand? Or Dr. Abalai. So please, you see, we are sharing these things with you so that you look at your situation and align yourself and see how, pick the good things in them. Just try to have that mindset that I'm successful, and nothing will push me down. And do not let the circumstances around you affect the kind of person you are. Make sure you align yourself with successful people that are go-getters. When you go into a new environment, try to look for people that are successful and align yourself with them. Because if you go and work with, losers, you become, if there are 5 losers, you become the 6th loser. If you want to be a millionaire, look for 5 friends or 2 friends that are millionaires. You will be the 3rd millionaire. Because when they are sitting down to talk, they will not be talking about their girlfriends, they will not be talking about drinks, they will not be talking about another choice maths, girl, and all that. They are talking about, we need to go on the next business trip to actually close this deal. I'm going to Dubai, I'm going here, I'm going there. They will let you feel very useless. I'm telling you, they will let you feel very useless. You see, but what does that do to you? It challenges you. Most of the time, you are hearing what they are doing. They are going to impact you without you even knowing. But then, if you want to be, a loser, or you find, so from today, look at the people you work with. Look at your set of friends. You realize that you are the same like them, or you are close to their character. Do you understand? But if you look, you change your set of friends, and you align yourself with people that you want to be like them, you look up to them, they will impact you. They are going for programs like this. They'll challenge. We have a certain program like this. I want you to come around. You come. They are going for business meetings. Say, oh, okay, bro, look, there's this opportunity. Possibly there's this meeting somewhere. I want you to come around. You know, there are actors that, and I've heard some stories that there are actors that they were not even going there to go and act. They went to take or escort a friend. I think that some actors, they're the stars. They went there to escort friends and they go like, can you play this role? And then he gets into the role and bam. You understand? So what if you didn't have that friend? And so if you do not push yourself or surround yourself with people that are focused in life, people that want to achieve something in life, you will be surprised at, what you will become at the end of the day. It is very, very important. So please,
So we'll leave that for our next session. Mr. Francis Atuahene has the answer for the next session. This is to invite you for the subsequent ones. And I would want the organizers to please also touch on how to find your life purpose and career, like you were saying. Some of us, hairdressing and other, massage and pedicure, manicure, that should be one of the areas to deal with, because the youth are really struggling with that. A lot of us don't even know what we are good at. Our life
The
purpose.
first session we tried on purpose, but I think we have to
Deeper. So it's already 8 p.m. And I'm sure Mr. Francis Atuahene, the CEO of the Atuahene Group of Companies, this will come up again, the last Friday.
The third,
16th April.
Yes.
So the next date is 16th April.
Yes,
16th April. Are we all going to be here? Are we all going to be here?
Yes.
Do go like Amba, baby, I better when you go to every post. Actually, we are working. Are we all going to be here on 16th?
Yes.
So our next session is 16th, and it's been so enlightening having all these powerful speakers here. I'm sure the next question, you can note it down. He will answer it for us. If you are going to a new terrain, a new country, a new city, a new village, what are some of the signals to watch out for? How are you going to survive the vicissitudes of all the areas you are going to, the new area? And on 16th April, you are going to meet here. And I same venue. Same venue. Your franchise. So this is to say thank you to everybody who came on behalf of Atuahene Group of Companies and all the organizers, Eva, Duke, the workers at Atuahene Automobile. They closed the place just to make sure they have time here to Imagine Takrade, who was part and who took charge of the Facebook Live, to everybody who came, our speakers, our panel, who are made up of Engineer Francis Atuahene, Scandi, Osanfanka Obaho, Lawyer Charles Edubrenia, CEO of Tesla One Printing House, and a legal practitioner, Deborah Fameye. What's your Fameye? Deborah Fameye, CEO of Baké Clothing. She's also an actress, model, and manager of Fameye Beach. Where's Fameye Beach? Afasni. Okay, so when you go to Afasni, at least you know where to go to. Fameye Beach. Mr. Ebenezer Lai, Chief Operations Officer of Dutiless and CEO of Geo Capital Limited. All the time I see it, never knew it was Jesus is Lord Capital Limited, and CEO of Zeus Energy. And again, we had our guest main speaker, Dr. Graham. It's been wonderful having you. Hey, Inspector J. And please, Inspector J. Inspector, oh, you won't say my Inspector J. Inspector, all correct. But you wish you were working on fanciful baby, was it? Address, I go yet, then address. Impressive. But Kofi can have us in there. I mean, kept him. It was in the floodlight. I didn't sound beer. So, on behalf of the team, it's been wonderful having all of you here, seeing you take notes, and it's been great. Thank you so much. My name is Nana Pesikum. I did with this. I'm Wedua, but no one company. So thank you so much for coming. We'll see you again 16th April. Thank you.